Hello and welcome back, this time for 10 tips and tricks that will help you improve in Deadline. Tip number 1. So, first up are one of the most important things to keep in mind at all times, and these are the capabilities of your build. If it has low recoil, you can freely use it at close to medium range. But if it has a lot of recoil, well, you should try not to give your enemies too much space and stay in close quarters. This is especially important when it comes to choosing where to go in the map. If you can, always take a look at the minimap and try to figure out where you are most effective with your current build. Tip number 2. Talking about the minimap, it is one of the most helpful utilities you have. It shows you where all of your teammates are, telling you where the enemies might be or where they have already been fought off. I personally use this feature a lot, as it helps me figure out where I should head if I want to get some action, or where I have a higher chance of survival, as staying with a group of teammates drastically increases your survival rates. On to number 3. Zero recoil is not the most important thing. What you really want on your gun is a balance between weight, recoil, and ergonomics, obviously focusing on whatever you prefer. I like to first go for a decent recoil setup and then modify it in a way that I don't gain that much recoil, but end up with a lot of ergonomics and ideally an acceptable weight. If you didn't know, weight affects your running and draw speed, while ergonomics affect your aim down sight time and the handling of your gun. Keep that in mind, especially when going for a close quarters or semi-auto gun build. You shouldn't try to make your gun have negative recoil stats. Tip number 4, similar to the last one, this is probably a very strange sounding hot take, but if you can, avoid using silencers. Now, I said if you can, as guns like the MK17 or M700 basically require one to one shot to the torso, but other guns like the M4 or AK-74 do not really get any difference in bullets or time to kill. Okay, so basically silencers not only weigh a lot more than muzzle brakes, they also drain more ergonomics and, most importantly, make your gun a lot longer. On some weapons, it's always going to be worth it to use a silencer. A prime example of this would be the .45 Vector. But other than keeping you hidden at long distances and sometimes being the best option for low recoil stats, silencers don't really have any pros and mostly bring you worse performance at all ranges except for long range sniping. Tip number 5. Avoid bushes. Now, in Deadline, bushes can be a great way to get some cover, but they also make you very slow and in some cases unable to aim down sight. The biggest problem with bushes is that you can usually be seen from long distances if you create any movement whatsoever, and not being able to run away or change positions quickly can lead to quickly getting taken out, which I have seen happening a lot of times, especially when I was the one sniping people retting in bushes. Tip number 6. Pay attention to what is happening around you. For example, when you notice a teammate die right in front of you, it's probably smarter to wait a minute for the enemy to push, thinking he's cleared the area, or simply try to be more aware of where the enemy could be hiding. Another good example is the game narrator saying things like, "they're taking Bravo," which I'm sure you've heard more than enough times. But this actually is very important, as it directly tells you that there are currently enemies at Bravo, so you can try to push them or get a decent flank while they are capturing. Generally, being aware of your surroundings is one of the best things you can do to survive for longer in Deadline matches and have a higher chance of winning the game. Tip number 7. Now this one is specifically for people with really good aim, but depending on the gun you're using and the distance you're at from your enemy, you should be aiming for different areas. For example, with guns like the MK17, G3, S58, and so on, you should always be aiming at the chest, and only aim at the head or other body parts if you cannot see anything else. For guns like Effector, M4, UMP, and basically anything that's used in full auto, you should be aiming at the head at close range, as at that distance it's not very difficult to hit, and aim at the chest on medium ranges to increase your odds of the recoil jumping right to their head. With guns that are good in semi-auto like the Scar 47 and probably the HK416, which do not one-shot to the chest at all ranges, you should be aiming for the head. Tip number 8. For my 8th tip, I have something special. When making a gun build, be aware of the bullets it takes to kill someone to the torso. Now I cannot tell you an ideal amount, but if you can, try not to go over 3 bullets to the chest. The reason for this is that even if it does cost you some recoil, and in some cases a lot of recoil, being able to get an enemy in 1 or sometimes even 2 hits less is insanely good. For guns like the M4, MK16 and HK416, where they tend to be a 2 to 3 hit kill, always try to go for the 2 hit kill. Sure, on guns like the 9mm Vector, it may not be as relevant as the improved recoil, but in close quarters it does make a very big difference, trust me. Tip number 9. This one is pretty short and straightforward, but if you go in the weapon modding section, you can choose your optics reticle before you even join the game. But you can also press G in game to switch your reticle. I recommend trying out what you like best and sticking to it. Tip number 10, and for my, last tip, which is also very simple but powerful, use grenades. You have 2 of them, one keybinded to 3 and one to 4 by standard. Grenades obviously deal a lot of damage, being ideal to deal with campers, but they also provide a very tactical use, that being suppression. You can throw them when you're getting shot by someone, and if you land the grenade near them, they will get a very strong screen shake effect and have basically no chance of hitting you. Also, if you're playing on a night map, you can blind enemies with the bright grenade flash and smoke effect. Well, that's it for the 10 tips that will hopefully help you in deadline. I thank you for watching this video and hope that some of these tips will really help you and make you improve at the game. Bye!